Let's bring in our panel now. Gemma Tonyini from GT Communications joining me live from Sydney, and from Melbourne I'm joined by Christy McSweeney from, she's the Managing Director, of course, of PR Council. Guys, thanks for joining me as I'm starting to get a little bit hot and humid up here in Brisbane. I want to take you to Dubai, and Chris Bowen, the Climate and Energy Minister, we know he's been saying some silly things there, the usual alarmist stuff about the climate and the usual delusional stuff about renewable energy, but did you know that he started his speech in Dubai, mind you, on the other side of the world, with a welcome to country of sorts? Have a look.
Friends, I begin with an acknowledgement that at the heart of action on climate change must be profound respect for those who've cared for our respective lands for millennia, the indigenous people across the world.
Unbelievable, isn't it, Gemma? Now, I love a welcome to country by the right people and in the right place, but this is just over the top, isn't it?
I'd like to hear the Minister explain to me who the indigenous people of northern Italy are, where my father was born. That would be a great start. It's just a nonsense sort of virtue signalling thing to say on the world stage, which, as you point out, Chris, diminishes meaningful welcomes to country that take place here in Australia. And like you, I have been part of, well, not part of, but I've been witness to and in the rooms with some really beautiful, meaningful, poignant welcomes to country. And when they're done well and they're done in the right circumstances, I think they're a beautiful thing. That just makes him look like a bit of a dill.
He does look like a bit of a dill, and the thing is, Christy, he looks like a bit of a dill on his day job, on energy all the time. He keeps telling us that somehow renewables are cheap and reliable. We all know the opposite. And the way he's just dismissed nuclear energy is just, well, it's embarrassing, really, when you see the serious countries in Dubai who are saying, yeah, if you want net zero, mate, you've got to at least triple the amount of nuclear energy.
Well, he's a brave man to go to Dubai, to the UAE, to a country with an appalling human rights record, an appalling record of welcoming investment and business dealings from a number of nations that Australia would never touch, an appalling record on the participation of women and girls in culture, in sports, in politics, in society, and to give that welcome to country. That is ridiculous and completely out of context. Now, it's one thing for hypocritical CEOs on this roadshow of Davos Mark II to go to Saudi Arabia and talk up the failings of Australia's energy, of Australia's iron ore, of Australia's mining and resources sector in a country that is literally built from the ground up by fossil fuels. But it's another thing for someone who's paid by the Australian taxpayer to buy into that hypocrisy.
Yeah, I tell you what, yeah, welcome to country. Why doesn't he welcome all the Bangladeshi and Pakistani workers in Dubai who don't have the minimum wage, who are living in hostels without their families, sending their money back to families, who are treated in the most inhumane way, and they've built all the infrastructure for the COP conference, of course. He doesn't welcome them to the country. It's just virtue signalling of the most hypocritical kind. Let me show you something else, though, from Chris Bowen in Dubai, going down the alarmist path about what was happening back in Australia.
The area I represent in our parliament, Western Sydney, is suffering today from a massive heatwave, with temperatures reaching 42 degrees Celsius today. That's pressure on our emergency services, our energy system and on our most vulnerable. It's becoming more severe and more frequent.
Gemma, honestly, he's on a world stage trying to make a sense of crisis out of a hot day in Sydney in summer. Now, I was in Sydney on Saturday. It never got to what they forecast. And the two biggest problems were I couldn't get a car park at the beach and my kids' cricket got cancelled because they said it was too hot, even though it was under 30 degrees by the time it started. I mean, this sort of catastrophism does my head in.
Well, the effect of catastrophising everything, as you know, Chris, is that it actually undermines it undermines the existing issue, which is that every nation, every responsible nation, should have the cleanest, greenest energy mix possible, and that must include nuclear. I don't quite understand the strategy that the minister is employing. It's an absolutist strategy, and it's on a highway to nowhere. And I think the thing that perplexes me most about the government's position in this space is it has the opportunity to look to other countries, learn from the mistakes of other developed countries in this space, in the energy mix space, and adjust our course accordingly. Because if you consider that the mandate of the government is to make the best decisions for the people it works for, and a reminder to everyone sitting up in the hill in Canberra, they work for us. It's their job to work for us. This just doesn't fit into that paradigm at all, Chris. Nuclear has to be part of the conversation. The minister is diametrically opposed. He is ideologically opposed to it, and I think that is eventually, unfortunately, going to be a significant problem for him. They cannot reach their net zero targets. They cannot. They've admitted as much. Nuclear provides a sensible answer to that problem, and it just doesn't seem to be on the table.
Yeah, it'll be their undoing, climate and energy policy, undoubtedly. It's just a matter of when, because it's all heading in the wrong direction at the moment. It's only going to get worse.